In this lesson, we're going to learn how to set up our UI. Alright, so let's go ahead and go over to our hierarchy and right-click and create a new UI canvas. Now, a canvas is going to be the main object that all of our UI elements are going to live on. Okay, let's go ahead and rename this to HUD Canvas. Hit enter. And you can see the HUD canvas if you go to your 2D view and you back way up because it's going to be really large. Now what this is doing is it's constraining to the proportions of your screen resolution. So essentially what you want to think of this as is your screen. So whenever we begin adding UI elements, this is done very easily. All you need to do is right click on the HUD canvas and go to UI, and then you can add any type of UI element that you would like. Let's go ahead and add a text element. You can see that it automatically snaps to the center of our canvas, and with this text UI element you have the bounding box itself, you have the pivot point, which is actually the blue object in the background, and then you have the anchors. Now there are 4 anchors, and you can see these with the white triangles. These anchors will determine how your UI element is going to stretch or how it's going to be positioned whenever your game is played on an actual computer screen. So whenever it goes full screen, we want the UI to be in a certain place. If it goes to a mobile, we want that UI to also be in a certain place. So we can manage that very easily with this new UI system. So with this object selected, let's come over here to our Rect Transform properties here, or component, and let's click on this icon right here. What this will allow me to do is select a set of anchor presets. Now this is really powerful because it not only allows me to move my anchor points, but it also allows me to move the object very quickly. In order to do that, I need to hold down Shift and then also Alt, and you can see how the menu is changing. By holding Shift and Alt, it will allow me to change the pivot point of the object, and then also allow me to set the position of the object while also moving the anchor points to the proper place. So with this, let's go ahead and click on the top right hand corner here, and that's going to snap that to the top right hand corner, and the anchor points are going to be in the top right hand corner as well. Now you'll notice that we have these stretch options. This will allow us to have UI elements that we want to stretch across the screen. So this could be something like main menu text or main menu image. Okay, you would want that to stretch to full resolution. But with elements like this, where it's keeping track of how many energy pieces we have collected, and then also showing how many are available, we want this to be in the top right hand corner, and we want it to be anchored just the way it is. So now that we have that set, let's go ahead and select the object again. Let's scroll down to the text component, and you'll see that we have some text here. We can go ahead and remove that text. We don't really want anything there. I could actually even put in some default text if I really wanted to. So I'm going to say energy collected, okay, something like that. This is going to change based on a script that we'll write to update this. I'll show you how to do that. So let's go to the character parameters, and we can change the font. I have a font here that I'm going to be using for the course, but we won't be able to redistribute this to you because we don't have permission to redistribute. So this will not be in the project files. However, if you have fonts that you have purchased or have downloaded that are royalty free, you can use those in your games if you like. Just make sure that you understand the license agreements whenever you download fonts. So now we also have some pretty standard things that come along with fonts, like the style, the size of the font, the spacing, whether it's rich text or not. And then we have our paragraph parameters, and this allows us to deal with our alignment. So what I want to do is I want to switch this to center, and this is centering up on the box that it's in. And then I also want to set it to the middle of that box. Perfect. Now you have the horizontal overflow, which if it goes too far to the right, it will just wrap and it will come down one line. If you have truncate turned on and the text goes below the box, it's going to truncate it off, so you won't be able to see it. You can set both of these to overflow if you want the bounding box to have no regard in how the font is shown. However, in my case, I do want it to be. So now that that is set, you can also hit this best fit, and this will fit the font inside of that area, and it's going to use this minimum and maximum size here. Now for some reason it's showing up kind of weird. Let me turn that off and then back on. I'm not really sure why it's doing that. Let's hit play really quickly and see if that lines itself out. And you can see that it has updated. I'm not really sure why it's showing that way. But either way, we've got it working now. So yeah, that's pretty much it there. Now let's go ahead and change the color of our font. Let's change it to like a white color. And so that way it's easy to see. But it's not as easy to see as I would like it to be. Trying to change it to a different color might work, but it's not really going to give me the effect that I want. So what I can do is actually add an effect component to this. So let's go to Add Component, UI, Effects, and then you see you have Shadow, Outline, and then we can position this as a UV. Let's go ahead and use Outline, and you can see how that allows for more contrast on the text, and it's going to be a little bit easier to see. Now that that outline component is on there, you can also adjust like the effect distance and the effect color. So if you want that outline to be a little bit thicker, you can always set this to 2 and -2, and you can see how that thickens up a little bit. Now it's not exactly the effect that I want. I like the 1 value on that, and so I'm going to leave that just the way it is. Alright, great. So now that we have that all set up, what we want to do now is we want to add in an image to kind of denote what is being displayed here. So this is going to be how many energy pieces I have collected as the player. And so I'm going to add an image next to this. So on our HUD canvas, I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a new UI element, but I'm going to use an image. Now with the image, you can see that it pops up in the center again, and I want to change the sprite image that's being used. So let's left click on that, and you can see that I already have this avatar hero image. If I apply that, it's got some transparencies applied to that, and it just kind of looks like a headshot of our player character. We can move this around if we like. Let me go ahead and close this down. If I use the Rect Transform tool, I can pull this up and I can start to align this based on where I want that to be on my canvas. I could even start to scale it by grabbing the corners, and I can scale that down. If you hold down Shift, that will constrain the overall aspect ratio of that. So I want to make this kind of small. Let's set it to about 50% on that, and then we'll pull this over to the right. Now I know that energy collected is being overwritten. Let's actually change that text. Let's change this to where it says 0 out of 10. Okay, just to kind of give an idea of what that looks like. We can come in and we can adjust the size of that bounding box as well for that text. So if we wanted to make this a little bit more uniform to what we see here, you can just resize that. And see how quick and easy that is? And then based on our parameters and our settings, you can see that this is going to fit really well. Okay. Alright, so that looks good. Now that's just a default text. We're actually going to drive that with a script, but I'll show you how to do that here in just a moment. So now that we have everything set up, there's one more thing that we need to take care of with this image. You need to make sure that your anchor points are set properly. So with this, let's go ahead and click on our presets, and I just want to change the anchor points of this, and I want to change it to the top right. So that way it's anchored at this point. Now whenever I hit play, actually let's hit play with maximize on play turned on. So whenever I hit play, you'll see that the screen goes all the way out, And because of the anchor points, it's staying attached to this corner. And so it's keeping its size, it's not stretching, and it's allowing us to see that UI. Now let's turn off maximize on play and turn off play here. One thing that I would want to do is take both of these elements, drag them down a little bit away from the top of the screen there, or the canvas, just to give myself a little bit more room. I don't want it to seem so claustrophobic whenever I'm looking at that. So that feels a little bit better. Might pull it away just a little bit from the left, or from the right a little bit more, but you kind of get the idea on what we're doing here. And let's try to move that again. There we go. Okay, that feels much better. All right, so we need to do the same thing for our boss. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you do this in between lessons, and I want you to create the UI element on the opposite side, so that way you can see how many you've actually created or collected to the mothership itself. And so you can see that there's another UI image there that we're going to use for that. All right, so in the next lesson we're going to have this finished off, and then I'm going to show you how we can drive the values that we've collected to our UI.